You can't see them, or you can see them. Can't see them, great. Cool. So what we got here is saline tattoo removal. That's me on a good day about 2.5 years ago, when I didn't have quite so much grey, just at the start of lockdown, when I decided to let it grow out. So I've, like I said, been doing saline tattoo removal for years. What I really wanted to do was kind of let you know about what this talk, I'm going to try and make it as non-biased as I can, but clearly I am biased to Botched Ink. But let's give you some information. So why offer tattoo removal? I mean, there are so many people at the moment that are coming to permanent makeup technicians. And honestly, there's the amount of technicians that are coming, the amount of clients that are coming to us with existing pigment is getting a bit ridiculous, isn't it? I'm talking about new clients here, new clients coming in for top-ups and things. And the bit that's such a shame is it's kind of like they're moving around clients and moving around technicians. In the chat or anywhere else, you know, what sort of percentage of clients are you seeing that have got virgin skin now? You know, so the bit that's always a shame is so many people are now, if they don't offer removal, or you're trained in a removal treatment, but you're not happy with it, you're not satisfied with it, you're not getting the results that you want to get. So what's such a shame is you're letting clients and money walk out the door because you're potentially sending it to a laser. If you know a laser technician, great. But Janice has just said clients want a fast fix too. Yeah, they do, it has to be said. But that, you know, we've got a historic problem here where we haven't been sharing with our clients through the years that at some point you're going to need these removed. All we've ever educated to a client is come for a top-up, come for an annual top-up, come for a touch-up, and we can do a little bit of a colour correction. We've only ever really educated a client that they're going to need more pigment, they're going to need more pigment, they're going to need more pigment. And of course, then there's two types of removal clients. The main one is the one that's actually physically looking for a removal technician because they know they need removal. Now, unfortunately, a couple of years ago, the term emergency tattoo removal didn't even exist. People weren't even realizing they needed emergent, you know, not that they needed it, of course, if you suddenly had some brows and you're panicking. But the thing is, an emergency tattoo removal has just become quite a thing now. And how much of it is down to actually bad work that the client has received, or how much of it is clients panicking for whatever reason. It might be that the tech didn't have time or inclination to do a really, really thorough consultation. Potentially the client it just panicked and didn't listen to what they were told. How much of it can be blamed on the techs and how much can be blamed on the tech, or how much can be blamed on the client? Who knows? You know, it's just a shame that this whole thing of emergency tattoo removal is growing and growing. And the bit that you kind of have to accept as well is if your clients know that you do removal, I mean, crikey, that conversation can't be nice. If you've just done some fresh work on somebody and then they're starting to panic, which clients unfortunately can do, you know, that's a whole other discussion that we kind of discuss on training. But the fact of the majority of the clients who are looking for permanent makeup removal actually are looking for permanent makeup is the small amount. I always train our techs that if you think that you're going to get work by somebody ringing you up and saying they want tattoo removal for their permanent makeup eyebrows, that is going to be the small and the minority of your clients. The majority of the clients that actually need tattoo removal don't think they do, or don't realize they do. And it's such a shame, because that person, you're going to have the ongoing conversation. And one of the things that I really feel for techs at the moment is having to sit there all the time groaning, trying to explain to your client that we can't keep on putting more pigment in there. You're going to need to have some removed. And they're thinking, well, actually, I like my brows. I don't want them removed. You know, so, but you've then got the whole thing of them then saying, oh, go on, try this one more time, putting some more pigment in. It's such a shame, because these clients really, really kind of need to be told that, right, you kind of wish that you could rewind 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years and actually tell them from the start that they needed to have removal at some point. So one of the things that in Botched Ink that we're doing, and one of the things that Botched Ink that we're doing is clearly explaining client 1 needs Botched Ink rescue. Yeah. Client 2 needs Botched Ink revive. Now, revive sounds a bit nicer than removal as a start, but what you also can then explain to the client is you're actually using removal, using colour lifting, using colour fading, colour lightening, to actually remove some of that unwanted pigment. And we'll talk about that in the next slide, because it's that whole thing now of when to correct and when to remove. Can I just ask how many in this group already do removal treatments? If you can pop in the comments or wave at me. Yes, thank you. Right. So this whole thing with old and bad shape clients, no, thank you. Yeah, lots of comments, thank you. Old or bad shapes. I always have to say it's clients with the bad shape that you have to feel the sorriest for, because that's the person that wants it gone or potentially needs that area gone, because you can't really work with those brows. Someone's just asked if these slides, thank you, Magic Moon, for asking. If you actually go on the website and you go on one of the professional tabs, you'll actually see that this whole PDF is available to download. So you can read it in your own time, which is kind of really cool. But most of the work at the moment that we're dealing with is too dark and saturated, scarred, black or grey brows and orange and red brows. Now, these might actually be in a good shape. So too dark brows that have got too much black pigment in there. And of course, we know that the pigments that we're using at the moment, a lot of them now have carbon black in it. The organic pigments, the hybrid pigments, don't really want to talk pigment brand names, but essentially the ones that fly into the skin, the non-iron oxide ones. And of course, that carbon black is actually that tattoo pigment. Yeah. And of course, we keep on putting more and more and more of that in. And your client's just going to end up with mucky looking brows over the years. And the bit that's kind of not too cool, but keeping on putting more and more and more pigment in, is black's actually the easiest color to lift out for us, or for laser if you happen to be a laser tech as well. So if you're one of these techs that works really nicely and really superficially on permanent makeup eyebrows, you might find on your own clients, after 2 or 3 years worth of touch-ups, you might need to actually do a removal session with Saline to just get some of that black out. Because otherwise you're just going to end up with if you're wanting to lighten black brows, you know, fairly superficially implanted black brows that you did them, you know how superficially you work, you know how finely and nicely you work. 1 or 2 sessions will get out enough of that black pigment for you to be able to work over them again. We're not talking about doing a full removal here. We're talking about just lifting out some of the old pigment. If you go onto the Botched Ink website, botchedink.com or botchedink.co.uk, you'll actually see our header picture is a removal client that actually one of our Botched Ink trainers done. And she had done over the years 4 years worth of Tina Davis top-ups. She's a technician that works really, really superficially. 1 session of Botched Ink got enough of that blackout for her to be able to give them pretty, you know, clearly you're going to have a little bit of a color correction, but you're going to be able to add those more translucent brows again instead of keeping on packing that color. What I'm about here, what the whole thing about this whole education that I'm looking to share with everybody this year is, let's start educating the clients that we can't keep on putting pigment in. We can't keep on doing it. Unfortunately, we now have to draw a line under the text, under the clients rather, that have got these really saturated brows and these really scarred brows. They're going to need a more intense removal process, maybe even combining Botched Ink and laser or Saline and laser. Botched Ink always first, Saline always first. When we was talking to Texas the other day, he's a laser tech, but he also does Saline as well. And he said sometimes he can hit the brows with his laser machine. But then the client comes back for their next treatment and they've got a patch that the laser couldn't get because the pigment was caught in scar tissue. Now, we never talk about that, do we, when we talk about laser tattoo removal? If a client's got really scarred brows, laser ain't going to get it. You have to release that pigment from the scar tissue. Obviously as well, orange and red brows, the skin stain, I call it skin stain from iron oxide pigments, will take years to fade. Before I got my brows tattooed again last year, I hadn't had them touched up for about 8 years. And I'd really, really let them faded out because I went through all the russet colours and everything like that. It was great fun. Because I had old iron. It wasn't the brow, the shape that was wrong, but I just didn't want to have solid brows again. So what you'll find as well is the whole thing with correction and removal. Who uses the pigments that fly into the, other way around, who still uses iron oxide pigments? Or who does 2 different types of pigments? Cool. Yeah, using both. It's great because that's actually my right answer. You want pigments that are going to fade out. If you get a client with virgin skin, you really want to be able to give them future choices for their brows, don't you? Yeah. If you're doing color corrections, using those longer lasting pigments are great. Color corrections with iron oxide pigments are really hard because you've got to really pack that pigment in. Again, making problems for future removal sessions when we need to carry on doing removal. Clearly, I've seen a couple of companies at the moment doing correction sets with the bright orange pigment. I'm seeing it being tattooed in onto black brows. We've always used orange to neutralize black. But now, when we're now using our more, what's the word, hybrid pigments and organic pigments, they're now tattooing in this bright orange similar type of pigment, and that's quite interesting. But again, this is still quite new. How long's that going to last? Yeah, that's kind of where we are at the moment. Which is the best removal method? I mean, my whole thing is, without being horrible to other companies, okay, if you've got a technician who really knows their stuff, who really knows the product, who really knows how to make it work, any removal method is as good as the technician that's doing it. And getting competent and confident and well trained is really key. And asking your client, getting to see the clients back for a second session, getting to see the clients back for a third and fourth session if it's needed. One of the huge problems with permanent makeup removal is most permanent makeup removal treatments are really painful, cause a lot of inflammation, cause different amounts of inflammation and irritation, and clients don't want thick, ugly scabs during their healing. So one of the bits that's really hard with non-laser tattoo removal is actually getting the client to come back for another session. That's actually the hardest bit. Yeah. So that was the thing that I knew I needed to do something with Botched Ink, and I'll show you in a bit, that we needed to make the healing as non-eventful and okay that a client would actually want to come back in for another treatment. We did a training class here yesterday, and I do model treatments for free here. And most of our models are kind of on their third or fourth session. Honest comment, I could have directed some of them to combine it with laser when they've got really, really solid brows, because I do actually know a couple of laser technicians around here that do brows. But of course I wanted them for models and they didn't want to pay for sessions, so there you go. Salt and so laser being the go-to removal method, we kind of covered that a little bit. The fact that most laser tattoo removal technicians were not taught how to do permanent makeup removal, don't necessarily know the brow skin, and they don't know our pigments. So they know well enough how to remove the black, but do they also know how to remove the red, the yellow, the white and the green? Difficult colors for laser to remove. So again, most laser technicians that are more specialists know how to get the red and potentially flip the white, but this is what we're seeing now. A lot of permanent makeup, laser removal methods, leaving bright orange brow, bright yellow brows, which again is a problem. Salt and saline alone, as in a pod of salt, no, a pile of salt and a pod of saline, are not effective for removal. You do need additional ingredients to help the solution penetrate better and heal better, because salt on a wound gets wet. Just think of what happens to your joint of pork when you want to make crispy pork crackling. It gets wet. And that whole thing as well about, look at all that pigment coming out. Glycolic tattoo removals getting bigger and bigger at the moment. And unfortunately, what we're seeing is a lot of glycolic removal technicians showing the picture of wiping during a treatment, wiping the skin and showing all of that brown pigment coming out. Well, hey, that's not pigment, that's blood that's been oxidized, unfortunately. And it's just a shame. It's just the same as laser techs as well, showing you know, a freshly zapped tattoo having disappeared. really, really, truly, us as the removal technicians, aren't we the fix-it guys? Aren't we the people here that are trying to save things? Why do we have to resort to trickery? That's kind of my point on that. Pamela's seeing scarring with all the different saline removals. I agree. So, and didn't happen to no pigment coming out. Acid removals, what they typically do, it's a skin peel, isn't it? So it's kind of removing the pigment from the depth that it was tattooed into. If you've got very superficial pigment, it will get it. But if you've got deeper pigment, then that technician needs to work much deeper with this skin peel. Which you then got potentially longer healing and everything, and different saline tattoo removals potentially causing scarring. That can be down to the scabbing slipping off. It can be down to the prolonged inflammation and irritation because potentially the client didn't follow the aftercare instructions of multiple times washing their wet brows. Again, I've tried to make Botched Ink dummy proof, and I'll share why shortly. But the main thing with Botched Ink is it doesn't cause inflammation and irritation. It doesn't cause it. Clients don't want removal because sometimes, I don't know why, but they suddenly think that we can pick up their brow and put it over there. We can't do that. It's like I did a trade show, an industry trade, sorry, a beauty trade show, not a permanent makeup trade show. And we're talking to lots of beauticians about tattoo removal. And the amount of them that thought we were dissolving their tattoo, just like you get your lip filler dissolved. So no wonder, client, that there's an education thing that's missed. And one of the things that I really want us to do as Botched Ink, as a company, is really get into sharing some of these myths so that clients can really start to make better decisions. It's 2023 now, and still people are offering a professional removal treatment using salt and saline. That's crap. Shouldn't even be a home removal treatment. It doesn't soak very deeply into the skin. It makes it wet. Supplier brands. What I mean by a supplier brand is, if you're in the UK, think Asda. If you're in the States or Canada, think Walmart. It's, imagine like Walmart made their own brand of saline tattoo removal. So what I'm talking about there is a lot of permanent makeup suppliers that own brand things are now joining the removal industry. Now, how much product development has gone into that, because you're buying it from a supplier who's made their own product? I'm just questioning how much product development. I saw one recently come out, and when I looked at the ingredients, it's just odd. Just always look at the ingredients and kind of think logically. Recognize brands, Botched Ink came out. We were 4. We launched on January the 13th, 2019. So we're 4 now. I think Lift launched a year or 2 before. And A+ Ocean's probably been around since 2014 or earlier. I can't really remember. But these are the brand. Lift is owned by Lift is owned by Lee Pigments. Lift is owned by Lee Pigments. A+ Ocean's owned by John. Yeah, Tattoo Vanish has been around as well. That's a. I have to credit A+ Ocean. I do think he was the first. Yeah, there you go. But the quick truth is, so many companies now are going back to basics when just as we were trying to get this all elevated, and yeah, going back to basics isn't cool. Not happy about that. So again, it's because everything's going back to basics that is one of the reasons why I stopped using distributors. I stopped supplying everybody, because what was happening, unfortunately, was wrecking balm at Walmart, and that, oh my God. What was happening, unfortunately, was all these saline tattoo removal trainers, I'm talking training companies here, were recommending any product that they could get hold of to their students, and whether they had a great deal of training themselves was questionable. There are some incredibly knowledgeable generic saline tattoo removal trainers out there, but most of them arrived in the last year or two. And how long were they actually doing treatments themselves? So Botched Ink, do we sell it to anyone that wants it? No. We only sell it to our officially trained Botched Ink technicians. We are the only saline removal brand that puts our product in single-use sachets. Don't know if you realise the significance of that. One of the main ingredients, other than salt, in saline tattoo removal is aloe vera. And aloe vera is a natural, fresh ingredient. So when you've got a bottle of saline tattoo removal solution that's got aloe vera in it, the minute that you open that bottle, it's degrading. You must have heard of Forever Living aloe vera products. Yeah, they say that you can open their bottle and keep it in the fridge for, I don't know particularly how long they're saying at the moment, might be 6 weeks, might be 3 months, can't remember. But us as permanent makeup technicians, with this little bottle of saline tattoo removal solution that's got aloe vera in, we are tight-fisted, typically. We will not write on that bottle when we opened it. So one of the things that happens when you are using a product that's got aloe vera that's in a bottle and you opened it, how each month that that bottle's been opened, it's degrading in efficiency as a product, because aloe vera is an incredibly significant ingredient in tattoo removal, because aloe vera is the ingredient that draws the product into the skin. It's nothing to do with really healing. It's drawing the product into the skin. So if you're using a saline tattoo removal product that's been open for ages, your aloe vera isn't going to be the best quality. Sorry, not the best quality, the best, oh, you know the word. I can't think of the word at the moment. But in Botched Ink as well, we use, knowing full and well that it's botched, that it's potency, thank you. We use 200 times concentrated aloe vera powder in Botched Ink. So the amount of aloe vera that's in Botched Ink draws the product into the skin so easily that, get this, you only need to do one pass. Yeah. So with Botched, yeah, exactly. So we work 1 centimetre, soak it, 1 centimetre, soak it, soak all the way along, one dense pass, and start the soaking immediately. And that's it. You don't need to do 2, 3 or 4 passes with Botched Ink. You don't. And this is where, because A, we've got the 200 times concentrate, and B, we've got sachets. So C, consistently good results. Yeah. So products always potent and hygienic, skin-friendly pH. Now, the pH of Botched Ink's 5.5. So that's skin friendly to the surface of the skin. But of course, the minute that you start making holes in the skin and you get all the bleeding and everything, and you've then got the product soaking in, the pH of the dermis is about 7. So this is why saline tattoo removal stings. Because the minute that it's soaked into the dermis, you're going to have that quick little sting. But the reality is with Botched Ink, that sting is over pretty quickly. And B, you haven't got to keep on going over it and over it and over it and keeping on prolonging that sting. So I have to say, Botched Ink is a no tears formula. So if anybody that's used other products, and the poor client's crying, you don't get that with Botched Ink. So in Botched Ink, we've got an ingredient in there that is a vasoconstrictor. Now, it's not a numbing cream. Botched Ink isn't a numbing cream. But when you then are tattooing Botched Ink into the skin, or any saline tattoo removal, if you guys know it, use other products, causes bleeding. We now need to stop that bleeding somehow, and different removal solutions handle that differently. Some do a jelliness to the formula, some don't even know you need to do it. But what Botched Ink uses is we actually use aluminium sulfate and cornstarch, and that stops the bleeding. What aluminium sulfate is it's called a styptic. So lots of blokes, you know, when they cut themselves and they don't want to stick a tissue on their face, they use a styptic pencil, this little white lipstick powder thing that you just kind of switch onto your cut area, and it actually stops the bleeding. And any of you that have got pets, thank you, Nancy. Any of you that have got pets, there's this white powder, you know, like if your animal hurts its dew claw or something like that, and you stick their paw into this white powder, that is a styptic. That is in Botched Ink. So Botched Ink stops the bleeding, which is quite significant, because Botched Ink also stops the lymph and the wound healing process. So when you then stop the lymphing and the wound healing, sorry, when I'm saying the wound healing process, I mean inflammation and irritation. Yeah. When you stop those happening, you've got skin that dries out literally in about an hour. You've got dried out skin. It's so cool. If you're a chatty person and you do long treatments, you can literally see a client coming in with really, really grey brows, because they don't look very nice. They're grey brows. But you do a Botched Ink treatment and they're probably going to walk out with brown brows. And their brows will be brown for a few days while the scab's on. And it's not really a scab because we haven't had the wound healing response. What we've got is thin, dried out skin. And that thin, dried out skin has got a good hold on the pigment that we flushed up into the area. Think about it logically. If you've got skin that's wet for several hours or several days after a saline tattoo removal product, how much of a firm hold has that got on the pigment? Yeah, I can see you nodding there, Pamela. Thank you. Interesting, isn't it? You know, so Botched Ink, this is us, single-use sachet, soaks in deeply, 1 needle pass, Botched Ink makes the skin bleed so easily, proper easily. One of the things, we're always evolving as a brand, because the industry is always evolving, isn't it? Can't read what I wrote there. So with having removal as the fastest growing trend, I mean, who agrees? Every technician that knows how to put pigment in should really know how to get it out. You can't keep on putting pigment in, but I do believe that so many techs are trained in removal, but they then don't like, for whatever reason, the brand or product that they're using, which is such a shame. In the UK, we've got an insurance company called Holistic, and I've known the lady that owns this brand for years now, and they're one of the strictest insurance companies in the UK. And I had a bit of convincing to do to get her to approve Botched Ink, and I got her to understand it. And she basically said to me, "It sounds like you've made it quite dummy proof. It's actually the product that it's the ingredients. They're simple ingredients." To just quickly say as well, Botched Ink as the sachets. You get 1 sachet, 1 treatment, 2 ml of Botched Ink in each sachet, and it's a pack of 10 sachets that you get, and it's $40, £30. I can't remember how many Canadian dollars. Sorry, I think it's in the 60 something Canadian dollars. But I could that's cheap for Botched Ink. For the quality of the ingredients and everything that we got in there, I could be charging so much more for that. I could easily be charging £65, £70, $80, $90 for that because of what's in there. But for me, I've always wanted for Botched Ink to be an achievable product for a technician to have in their drawer, but I want to train you well. I want to train you about the difference in the product. I'm all about the training and information sharing. And this industry's gone a bit tits up in recent years with all the online trainings, the poor trainings, the amount of people that have joined our industry that, I mean, when I first joined it, and I'm sure anybody that's been in this industry for 7, 8 years plus, most of the people that were doing permanent makeup and microblading were specialists. That's all we did. We only did permanent makeup. We didn't do nails, we didn't do lashes, or essentially most days we worked, we had a tattoo machine or a hand tool in our hand. But now the industry has exploded and it feels sometimes like everybody's doing it. And this, yeah, don't know what to say about that. It's just a shame. It's just a real shame. And I really think that the industry somehow needs to come back to the specialists. How that's ever going to happen. I've been working with marketing. Thank you, Pamela. I've been working with a marketing lady. You know, when they get you to do all your brand pack and everything like that, you know, your missions, your visions and your goals and things. And I can't remember which one it was, but my mission, vision, whatever, would be that Botched Ink wasn't needed to remove bad work, because there was no bad work anymore, because permanent makeup and removal was only being used to maintain brows. You know, wouldn't that be a lovely dream? Don't know when that's going to ever happen, but hey, can only dream. These are reviews on the product. Like I said, you can get this PDF. Everybody that signed on to this as well, to save you looking for it on the website, I'll be dropping an email to everybody with a link for this so you can read it all in your own time. So talking about training, and anybody having any questions at the moment, do drop them in. We can do a free-for-all on questions at the end, by the way. Sorry, I didn't say that. We can do a free-for-all questions afterwards. But what you've then got at the moment is, I have to say, and think about it, there isn't, most saline tattoo removal training is generic removal training by someone that's using a product that they didn't make. on their removal training. Now, that means how much knowledge of the specific product that they're recommending are they able to give? How much do they know? Because obviously some brands, like I've said before, will supply to anybody. And generics, I mean, crikey, in the States, there's a $10 saline tattoo removal training course. It's crazy. That the people that have put that course out, I have watched it. It's an absolute marketing tool for them. They're very clever. But unfortunately, in our industry, and it's crap, unfortunately, in our industry, the amount of permanent makeup technicians that get one certificate for one treatment and then that's it, they're done. They don't, for financial reasons, for ego reasons, for not realizing reasons, don't go and get multi-certified, don't go and take additional courses. They think they can do the treatment. But I have to question, if you as a technician have paid $10 for a training course, are you offering proportional prices for your removal treatments? Unlikely. You know, it's such a shame. So with Botched Ink, we give all the brand assets, the logos, the adverts. I'm all about for the Botched Ink techs, and I know there's some Botched Ink techs on this meeting as well, so thank you. I'm always offering continued learning. One of the things that I had to do last year, no, the year before, whatever, was I had to re-explain and re-educate about emergency tattoo removal, because when I first wrote the training course, emergency tattoo removal wasn't a thing. And since I've had to go back in, I've had to give far more cautions, because unfortunately, emergency tattoo removal is risky. And unfortunately, a lot of technicians don't understand that they're actually working on an open wound that a client has been left with on their own for a certain amount of time. They put makeup on it, they've washed it, they've touched it, they've tried to remove it themselves and all things like that. And unfortunately, a lot of technicians, oh, that's not fair. Some technicians are very blinkered, and they're only saying, well, she was okay during the treatment. I had no problem doing the treatment. It didn't hurt. Yeah, but you're forgetting, darling, about all the healing. You know, it's the healing of this wound that is worse. So that's what I'm about, sharing loads more information, before and after photos. If you're not a Botched Ink, if you're not a removal technician at all, we've actually got some text that you can verbatim use, adverts. And now I feel this year, for Botched Ink, or just anybody, is going to be really exciting. I am so excited for this year ahead. And it has a treatment on Hashi A plus age challenge, or we're interested. Oh, thank you. And I am so excited about this year ahead, because I feel that technicians are listening, really open to listening at the moment. Yeah, because these higher price treatments that we are a luxury. We've kind of got to bring it back to this, like I said, bring it back to the specialists doing it. So again, the bit at the bottom there, generic saline tattoo removal course cannot possibly teach you exactly how to get the best results from products used, as they cannot infringe the copyright of official training courses by teaching you the specific method or knowledge, which is true. I mean, we've all been in this or potentially been in this industry for a while, and how many times does a student go onto a training course and then 3-6 weeks later they're training themselves? That's just so not cool. So again, in the UK, we've got a model class. I have been so gutted with COVID over the last couple of years because I've so wanted to get the model class going in America and in Canada, and we're launching. It's starting to grow in Australia now, which is really cool. But the problem with the model class is the live model class is in the UK, you're required to take some form of live training to get your insurance certificate. That could be case studies, that can be a model class, it could just be watching a live Zoom. But in the States, in Canada, in Australia, you don't have to. You can just go and watch an online class and get insurance. So we are coming over with a model class. I've got a UK training team that we're sending over. It's just when. We're going to make it a proper event, because as you can see, when we have a Botched Ink model class, it's a really good day. I've worked out now how to make it a proper little event. So it's not just sharing about removal training, it's sharing about the whole industry. So again, this whole thing with informed consent on that one down there, informed consent, we're in a really litigious world at the moment. Oh, thank you, Magic Moon, for signing up for the updates. The world is becoming so litigious. And did you know that if this is an insurance thing, I've spoken to quite a few insurance companies around the world over the years, and the onus is on you, the technician, to satisfy yourself that you don't need additional training to learn a product. Okay, so did you know that some insurance companies, if you change your pigment brand that you were trained in, the insurance is in question? That's a really odd one. That blew me, because how many pigment companies, and they absolutely should, and you wish that they would, how many pigment companies actually are putting a training course up for their pigments? They don't, do they? You know, I know that Permablend, who's laughing? Why are you laughing? They really should. Pigment companies should put a training course or an education about how to use their pigments. Yes, they should. I know that Permablend have recently launched, I must watch this, I want to watch this one. Permablend have recently put up a course about the science of their pigments. I do want to watch it, because it's going to be, it's the first, no, it's not free. Yeah, it's not free. But because this is the first pigment brand that has given us access to some of their information, I want to know what it is. Because I believe that it impacts how we remove these pigments as well. So it's just interesting. So the whole thing about no wonder treatment insurance is harder to find, with insurance companies wanting to know more about the training provider. That's another thing as well that techs don't always look for. But then again, I know in different countries and different states, it's only when you try to claim that they actually want to know who trained you. You know, will you train me in saline tattoo removal? Sorry, will you cover me for saline tattoo removal? Yes, we can cover you for that treatment. Do they then ask you who trained you? Because it's an add-on treatment. Obviously, there are beauty insurance companies out there in the UK. We've got ABT and Salon Gold and that they're typical beauty insurance companies, and they won't cover saline tattoo, any kind of non-laser tattoo removal, because tattoo removal isn't a beauty treatment. So how to recognize a good training course. How to recognize a good training course. I would turn around and say, you've got to Google the company to see if they're known for saline tattoo removal. If you're going to be using a product that you want to start promoting, you've got to go on to Google and see, hold on, let me rephrase. Clients, when they're looking to have removal treatments, don't actually know what they need. So what they're going to type in is microblading removal, permanent makeup removal. They're going to Google something like that, or they're going to Google, how long does it take till my microblading fades? So if ever you put those searches into Google, you'll see Botched Ink come up, because I've been working on that. So one of the things that I've really been working on is making Botched Ink be the brand that clients find. So we've got to find a tech map on our website that's got all the approved Botched Ink technicians on there, and the amount of work that our students get, our Botched Ink techs get from being on that tech map is kind of really cool, because what the techs are then going to be looking for, unfortunately, what the clients are going to be looking for, unfortunately, they're going to find saline tattoo removal, aren't they? But if you're a generic saline tattoo removal technician, how are you going to stand out over someone that's just doing salt and saline? So the client's not going to know, but you've spent XYZ amount of money. In other words, you didn't pay $10 for your training course. Right? How are you going to stand out in this muddy, murky field of microblading removal, saline tattoo removal, when clients are starting to look around online for removal treatments? Because clients like brands. Clients like, when they find that there's brands, they like looking for a brand. They feel safe with a brand because they can find more information about a brand. When you're just talking lashes, for example, so perhaps that wasn't a good example. Oh, HD brows, that's probably an English one to think about. But just think of some brands of lash treatments, of tinting and waxing treatments that you're actually promoting as a technician, that, look, I'm trained in XYZ brand of treatments. So this whole thing about how do you recognize a good training course, if you were trained with a generic tattoo removal training company, and you were recommended a product to use, you're not an official XYZ product technician, are you? Because you haven't taken an official training class. So that whole thing, I mean, coming back to it as well, so many information, so many generic saline tattoo removal classes out there. My point on this is, and it's not a nice point, I think the saline tattoo removal industry is on a downward spiral, because everybody is doing it, and there are too many people training and using inferior products and inferior training. That how can you know that you've taken a good training course and you're using a good product? So I think at some point in the future, saline tattoo removal isn't going to be well regarded anymore as a treatment, even though it has historically been the most well regarded permanent makeup removal treatment, because so many people in the last couple of years have gone onto the bandwagon. I mean, all I can say is I'm really glad we came out when we did, because so many, you're going to start to, you're already seeing it in the Facebook groups. People are saying saline removal doesn't work, it hurts. Yeah, this is kind of how Botched Ink has so quickly, just think, with this little brand from the UK that's managed to get so well spoken about and so well known in the Facebook groups, because I keep it tight. I keep it really tight, that we don't just supply it to anybody. We educate the technicians. We're all about, I mean, my whole thing is about you having a really good product that you can use, a good, safe, reliable product. And it's all then about training and brand promotion. When you guys are earning money doing removal treatments, you'll be happy, so you'll promote Botched Ink. Spoken to, I had a Botched Ink tech a while ago. We was talking about removal and how much she was doing removal treatments, and she actually said, sorry, this is in pounds, but she actually said that she earned what was it, £5,000 doing removal treatments last year. I then spoke to one of our trainers who's really prolific doing removal, and she said she earned more than £7,000 doing removal treatments. Now that's at UK prices, which are way lower than they are in America. In the UK, to just give you an idea, our technicians charge roughly £100 to £120 per treatment, which is, I don't know, £150, $150. In America, technicians are charging $150 to £200, $200 per treatment for a Botched Ink treatment. So just work on that. I mean, for this little add-on treatment that so many technicians, what we do during the course and try to educate is any new client that's coming to you, or even your original top-up clients, they're either coming for a top-up or colour correction, or they're coming for some colour lifting and removal. They're coming for one of them, and you're only going to really decide on the day when you actually get them under your really bright light, which one do they actually need. So it's kind of interesting. The people that are already trained in removal, how many of you did an online model class? Sorry, a hands-on model class? Or was it just online training? Cool. Hands-on. Zoom training. How was that, Pamela, with Zoom training? In-person training. Yeah. So this is kind of like both hands-on and online. No, that's really cool. So this whole thing with doing the hands-on training, my thing on that is you won't necessarily walk out a master at doing it, because you won't. You've still got to practice and practice and practice like anything, because removal is proper skin needling. So many technicians now, thank you, Pamela, are doing ombre and pixel brows. So when you've got technicians that only do this super fine, super fast work, educating them that you actually need to work deeper and a little more purposefully when you're doing removal can be quite a learning curve for that technician. So that's something that they'll start to learn during the hands-on class. But the main bit that I think the hands-on classes are really good with is actually be able to see several different models, because anybody that's done that's using Saline in the group here at the moment, isn't every client different? How some go really red, others don't go very red. Some walk out looking like they've had hardly anything done. Some look a bit red and a bit patchy. Everybody gets to be so different. And that's the thing, because can you imagine if you'd done your first ever removal treatment on someone and they didn't stop bleeding for ages? That would freak you right out. So how to recognize a good training course is the quick answer. Is it's the one that best prepares you for the industry. Don't know if I've got a couple of people in here. I think I saw Amy's on here. We were running a competition for the last month on Instagram and Facebook. where you can actually win one of our training courses. And I hope you got to see it. I hope you got to enter. These are the winners. So we've got Shannon Louise, PMU, Gigi Marie Browse. They're in the UK. That's for the online class. Sorry, that's for the live model class in the UK. I'm going to put this and tag the winners in on Instagram and Facebook on our page. But to just let everybody know that didn't win, thank you still so much for entering. You will be getting a code to use on the training as a commiseration prize. There has to be a commiseration prize. And we all know how tough things are at the moment as well. One of the things, yeah, a code. One of the things that I wanted, thank you. One of the things that I wanted to quickly say, because obviously we've got quite a few technicians in this Zoom that are already certified with other removal brands. And the thing that I fully understand, and this is the bit that I, I think is a huge opportunity for us as a brand and for you as technicians to trust us. We actually offer, and I believe we're an industry first, full stop. I like being industry first. If I can't make something better or do it first, then I'm not interested. So the industry first that we're doing is our Botched Ink conversion course is actually, so you're trained in Lift, you're trained in A+ Ocean, maybe you're trained in a glycolic removal brand and you want to convert to Saline. I understand that you might think you're already trained and why do I need to train again? I get it, but I want to train you my way and get you to understand what Botched Ink's different about and everything. So cut it to the quick. The Botched Ink online conversion course is on a 30-day satisfaction guarantee. Yeah, you get if you've got a tattoo removal training course that we can recognize. So to just give you a quick little insight, we don't recognize the Brow Kingdom course, the $10 course. If you've paid more than $200 for your course, your original course, we'll probably recognize it as a quick answer. The discount that we give you for your conversion course, thank you, Denise. The discount that we give you on the conversion course, if your course was worth more than that, we'll probably recognize your certificate, like I said. So it's a 30-day satisfaction guarantee, and you get 2 sachets of Botched Ink to try. Yeah, that's really cool. So for $245, £225, you get your online training with Botched Ink, and you get your 2 sachets of Botched Ink sent to you as well. Try the course, don't try the product until you've taken the course, please. But the satisfaction guarantee is that you want to be a Botched Ink tech. That's the satisfaction guarantee. If you've taken the training course within those 30 days and you've tried Botched Ink on a client and you're happy, you're going to want to be a Botched Ink tech, aren't you? So there you go. If you don't want to be a Botched Ink tech, then refund and keep the extra knowledge for free. So yeah, because again, I want Botched Ink to be the removal brand everybody is trusting and know protects the clients, protects the students, promotes the students, promotes our official techs. And thank you, Thomasina, for saying that. So worth it. And Denise did the conversion course, and there was so much information in there. It was so good and needed. Thank you, Denise. Yeah. So it's all about, it's not just maintaining standards. We have to raise industry standards. The bit that I find incredibly funny is Botched Ink leading the way. Yeah, I think we shook up when I first launched Botched Ink 4 years ago now. I think we shook things up a little bit, and if you watch for a while, you'll soon see that when we start doing something new, the others soon follow. It's kind one of the things with me and with Botched Ink is I don't take too much counsel before making decisions, and I just like kind of throwing things out there, leading the way. It's all about the clients at the end of the day, really, isn't it? Because they're the ones that we want to trust us, that we're doing the best job for them. This is some Botched Ink training reviews. Like I said, you can have a look at those in your own time from the PDF download. Jackie, I've learned so much in this course. I've been an SPMU tech for 20 years, and during that time I've regularly updated my training and skills and still learned so much more on our course. If I don't teach you something new, I'll surely give you a different way of thinking about it. You know, definitely a big picture thinker, and exceeded expectations. Best training ever. Can't wait to try the technique. Yeah, cool, thank you. So tattoo removal, we're now at, this is going to be fun. We're now at 999 Botched Ink official technicians who is going to complete their training course next and be our 1000th technician. So it's that whole thing of really promoting the brand, really promoting, searching what is saline tattoo removal. Botched Ink's top of the page, top of Google for that. In different countries, if you Google saline tattoo removal, Botched Ink's first or second in Google. Well, it was when I last looked. So one of my job is Botched Ink. Yeah, my job is growing the brand, growing you guys, sharing information in our Facebook support group. We've also got official tech assets. Like I said before, we got the logos that you can share. If you go onto Instagram, people don't always do this. If you go onto Instagram, you know the tagged feed. So we're at Botched Ink on Instagram. If you haven't liked us all, please do already, please do. Do you know the tagged feed on Instagram? The tagged feed is where all our Botched Ink technicians over the years have tagged us in their removal results. There's about 400 odd plus photos of actual results that that technicians have got that are on our gallery page on the website. So when you look at our feed, you kind of don't see our feed doing too much on Instagram, because that's all about promoting us and the training, and that's going to change. But yeah, it's all about tagging. So Botched Ink technicians, when they tag us, we're all about liking and sharing your comments, growing you as a removal tech. You know, everyone that's active on social media so wants what do you call it, likes, comments and shares, don't we, because of the blinking Instagram algorithm. So keeping ahead of that, we're all about helping you guys out as well. This is what we share on the online part of the training course. Now, if you come on the conversion course, it's exactly the same course. So we've got quite a few videos in there. We haven't got them as full-length videos because that gets boring. So we kind of got them one full length and a couple speeded up. We're talking about the different types of pigments, pigment degradation. When you've got pigment that's been in the skin for years, you can't assume that it's going to stay in the same little pigment molecule. I'll explain that more. I go right into depth about the Botched Ink benefits and ingredients of why we're different. We also kind of give you some tips and advice for doing business with permanent makeup and kind of sharing what's going on in the industry. This is from techs that are new to removal, that have never taken any removal training before, kind of giving us some really good reviews, which is really lovely. And information galore, such an amazing course. Do you know what? Do enough make you smile sometimes reading these? It's so nice. I love this one, the lady with the ADHD brain, and I've got the attention span of a gnat, right? I'm one of these people that, oh, it's shiny. You know, getting me to concentrate and listen has to be in like in short little bite-sized chunks, as the Botched Ink course. Little segments, so you don't have to sit there and watch a whole video for 4 hours. You can actually watch most of the segments are like you saw. Oh, my dog's snoring. You know, 10 minutes, 3 minutes, 3 minutes, 15 minutes, you know, little bite-sized chunks that you can dip in and dip out of. It's just keeping your attention, isn't it, when you're learning and sharing all the new information. The live hands-on model class, I'm so excited to grow that this year. We're going to be trying to combine it with another course as well. So because like, the trouble with America is it's huge. So to come to America, understanding that you're going to potentially have to travel quite a way if you want to join us on a model class, we have to make it a worthwhile event for you. And I promise you now it will be. That's why I'm kind of waiting to see when to launch. So the online hands-on model class in the US is probably going to be the latter part of the year, like July, August, September kind of time, to be honest. So that's kind of really excited about that. Like I said, sending over our UK training team and me too. Where's New England? North, east or west? East, yeah, definitely. So we're going to come into New York or Chicago, one of the two. So we are doing East Coast and West Coast and potentially Texas too. So exactly. So Jacqueline's just said about a class at the SPCP convention to kind of team up. That's again something that we're looking at. It just all depends on when everything's timed our side. I've spoken to the SPCP a few different times, and it would be great because I know with them they do a Miami class, don't they, as well? And they were doing ones in different. So it's just to see who's on and where. Because if we're coming over, we kind of want to do a couple of different, definitely an East Coast and West Coast trip as a trip. That would be kind of fun. So how much is the course in the UK? Where are we thinking of looking at in the West Coast? Because the problem with America as well is some of the different states have got such different regulations about people doing training, and what is it, that if you travel out of state that you might have to register in that state to be licensed for that class, and we don't want to be getting you needing to do that. So we're just trying to make everything simple, recognizing that people are going to have to travel potentially to come and see us. So how much is the course? In the UK, it's £845 for the online training plus the model class. When we get it to the States, I'm going to try my best to keep it to for the online class and the model class to around $1,000. Anybody that's a Botched Ink technician, as an existing Botched Ink technician, will absolutely have the option to add on and come and join us for the model class. because I think that's going to be great fun, because you as an existing botched ink technician will add so much value to the room. Like when we do model classes, the models really help the day, because like I said, the models have been to us loads of times as well. So we also like having botched ink training assistants on a training class. So because you as a botched ink tech, aren't you the greatest raving fan of doing botched ink treatments? So this is what we're all about. It's just about sharing. Everybody that comes to a botched ink class in the UK leaves a raving fan of botched ink, you know. So 845 in the UK, we're going to try and keep it to around $1,000 in America. Do you get a student kit? Yes. It will probably be additional in the States, need to work that out financially. But in the UK, the student kit basically is a 46-page training manual. It's really comprehensive training manual. It's not a boring training manual either. It's all bullet points and paragraphs. And so 445 for the online training course, $445 for the online training course if you're new to removal in America. If you're on a conversion course, it's $245. On our botchedink.com website, the store changes currencies, so you can actually not just shop in your currency, but you can check out in your currency too. So the store currency is US dollars, but if you're in Canada and you want to check out in Canadian dollars, you can too. If you want to check out in euros or you want to check out in Australian dollars, you can too. So that's nice and easy. The other really, really important thing, coming back to that whole question about botched ink, and it's all right taking our training, but how do I get hold of botched ink? We don't use distributors, okay? That means we have botched ink in different countries. So, you know, like Amazon, when you go and buy something from Amazon, they have warehouses in different parts of the country. We've got some shelf space in different warehouses. We've got a warehouse in America, we've got a warehouse in Canada, and we've got a warehouse in Australia. That sounds so cool, doesn't it? So we can ship out to you from America, from Canada, from Australia. There's no import duties. And it's Canada Post, UPS, DHL, DF. Yeah. So like I said, you get your product really nice and easily. I'm always keeping knowledge of what stock I got in these countries. Botched ink as a sachet is on a 2-year expiry. So I'm always watching what stock expiry dates, because I know that's really important to techs as well. So any questions on that? Cool. Coming to the end of this, by the way. So quick other questions. How does botched ink work? We're kind of, it killed salt. This is the bit. Remember I said, so yeah, you order just from the website and it's delivered from the US warehouse. Exactly. Yeah. So, you know, like when you, sorry, this for the vegetarians here, you know, when you make crispy pork crackling, or you have salami and things like that, they're all salt preserved meat. Salami is salt preserved meat, aren't they? So this is the other bit that I tried to focus on, how we're doing with botched ink, because like I said, botched ink dries out that skin so quickly, and salt's actually a preservative. Salt actually kills bacteria. So when you've got these saline removal products that are causing wetness and inflammation and irritation and stuff like that, it can be better. Coming back to, I think, Pamela's comment earlier about scarring from saline tattoo removal, I think we are the only removal brand, not just saline removal brand, that don't teach our techs to work on the body in our basic training course, because body tattoo removal is so risky, so risky. Most permanent makeup technicians, not need, I'll answer, yeah. So most permanent makeup technicians don't know about body tattoos. I'm covered in body tattoos. I know how to heal a body tattoo. The problem is, when I have in previous years trained permanent makeup technicians to remove body tattoos, again, they're just focusing on what's going on during the treatment, not necessarily remembering that the client's got to heal that tattoo. And potentially working on inappropriate areas. I recognise as well that when you're doing the conversion course, you were probably trained to work on the body. Every now and then I do a kind of a free, to our Botched Ink technicians only, a free little education about body tattoo removal with Botched Ink. Because I'll put the willies into you, I'll scare you, you know, about some of the stories, and just the inappropriate tattoos that, you know, you're going to be saying no to most of the tattoos to do body tattoo removal. And without being funny, if you, yeah, exactly, Magic Moon, trained in body tattoo removal, but stopped offering it ages ago. I kind of think it's a very egotistical tech that's taking on a giant body tattoo and removing a tiny patch. I think that's not good. Janice was just asking, are we planning for a Botched Ink aftercare product or post-removal aftercare? Great question. The answer is you don't need it. So the aftercare that we use for Botched Ink, yeah, the aftercare that we use for Botched Ink, who's heard of Cavalon cream? Barrier cream? Cavalon cream is a wonderful, wonderful barrier cream. When you put Cavalon cream on an open wound, it actually makes the skin go a bit plasticky. And when you, so what you do with Botched Ink, okay, is you have your treatment, the skin is dry by the end of the night. It is dry, yeah? No washing, no wetting. You don't need to do all the wiping and cleaning your brows and everything like that because it's done. Yeah, the skin's dried out. No, no, Pamela, it's not like Aquaphor or Vaseline. It almost makes like a silicone, it's not silicone, but it kind of almost makes like a silicone film over the skin. But what we actually do, what we actually do with Cavalon, with Botched Ink, is when that skin has completely dried out after 48 hours, we get the client to put the tiniest rice grain size of Cavalon on their brows, directly on the scab. When have you ever heard of that? Yeah. So what happens that's so brilliant with a Cavalon cream, and it's so easy to get, it's so cheap. And because it's so good and so cheap, why would I make another product? So what happens is a Botched Ink scab, this is a disgusting description, is like psoriasis. It's like a tiny thing of dried out skin. A Botched Ink scab is typically not a thick scab. It's not a thick scab, it's just dried skin. So we can put that Cavalon cream on. And why the skin likes that is it's kind of like giving it's not doing a dry heal, and skin kind of quite likes that. And if you haven't got Cavalon cream, use nothing. I have never seen, after the Botched Ink scab has come off, I have never seen red skin. Never seen it. That's the difference. The reason why you don't need the post-removal aftercare, other than putting a bit of Cavalon cream on at 48 hours, is, again, like I have said several times, botched ink does not cause inflammation and irritation. Most removal products, not just saline, most removal products are using the skin's inflammation and irritation during the healing to cause the removal. We're using dried out skin to cause the removal. Different. So scab stays 5 to 10 days. The bit that's kind of cool as well, when you put the Cavalon cream on, is you can now get your brow a little bit wet in the shower. You can even really gently wash your face as well. We want you to. So we don't want you scrubbing or moving it too much. Because think of it as well, though, a dried out skin scab can be quite sharp. So we're wanting that to not flick off. So that's why, again, Cavalon's quite good, because Cavalon then makes the scab go a bit plasticky, like I said. So it's a more comfortable thing. Clients are quite relieved. Literally, the Botched Ink Aftercare is so uneventful. Yeah. So, and in training, you'll see some pictures of how the scabs typically look as well, which is kind of quite strange. Do clients feel anything? Again, it's all down to the pH as well, and the fact that we don't have to do so many passes. But they'll feel a little bit of a sting, and we want, and I do mean a little bit of a sting, for barely a minute, just when the pH hits, you know, from the epidermis to the dermis. There's a funny video online. I spotted this video a couple of years ago, but I never said anything to the lady that put it up, because I kind of didn't want to. If you go onto Facebook and look for Botched Ink versus, well, I'm not going to say the brand, but there's a video of a permanent makeup technician having removal done on her brows, and she's used Botched Ink on one brow and she's used another product on the other brow. It's just quite funny. So do you need to pre-numb the brows? Yes. Stick your Emla on in the UK, your Zenza, Mazo-Numb if you get hold of that. The other thing with Botched Ink is we can't use it on eyeliner. The reason, if you can understand how now different Botched Ink is from your general saline tattoo removal solutions, you can now understand why we can't use it on eyeliner. Dries out the skin way too quickly. If it even got anywhere near the eye with that concentration of aloe vera in there, that's a corneal abrasion. I'd be terrified. So as well, it soaks in way too deep and that skin's way too thin. Some saline tattoo removal solutions only remove the pigment from the surface of the skin. So you're left with the deep pigment and clear skin above. With Botched Ink, we're literally floating all the pigment up to the top as well, because it soaks in so easily. And that's, again, another problem for eyeliner removal, because if you had carbon black there, we're going to make it spread. Yeah. So again, it's a hard no for eyeliner removal. Lips removes really nicely with lips. Sorry, lip liner, not lip tissue. I don't know who can really work on lip tissue. That's such a shame. But if someone's had their lips tattooed bigger, Botched Ink works really nicely. And it's the same treatment as well. Clearly still watching the lip, what the lip skin's like, because some people, as they get older, or especially if they've had lots of fillers, can get quite a lot of capillaries. And we don't really want to overwork that too much. Do clients have to shave their brows off? No. Does it matter if the technician, this is one, does it matter if the technician offers hand tool or machine method? No, because I've already explained, I mean, hand tool method is actually really nice for botched ink, because I've already explained how well botched ink gets into the skin, and we're just making needle holes. So I've been asked before, and I know in America, a lot of people are soft tap trained. You can't use the soft tap method with botched ink. We need needle holes straight down. Because clearly when you're doing hand tool method, it's the suck out, excuse my language, it's the suck out that's drawing the pigment into the pigment levels. So if you're doing soft tap method, you're not going into the right levels. So you're getting just as nice results with the hand tool method as you are with the machine method. And a lot of botched ink techs that are dual trained, if you've got a client that does happen to go particularly red afterwards, red in the brow, not on the skin, use hand tool method on them next time. Or what was kind of weird is we had a model yesterday and she was on her 4th treatment with us, and she's been removing really nicely, but she doesn't go red. The first time she went really red with all the scar tissue and that was in there, but she doesn't now. So Denise, the machines, we like using a hard hitting machine that's got a hard needle stroke. Some people, if their machines are quite strong and only hit out about 2.5 mil, we kind of want you to be hitting out 3 mil, 4 mil. Some people even go and just buy a masked Magi as a quick little machine to do removals with. If you've got a machine that's really soft powers or you can't change it, yeah, exactly, mask's fine. And we use a tight configuration liner needle, a small liner needle. I'll go into the specifics on training. Basically it's a 5-round liner that we use, because we're only doing 1 pass and we want to get that in as densely and quickly as we can. I know a lot of other types of removal solutions, you use round shaders and big needles. We don't want to do that because they're using several passes. We want 1 pass, get in there, get it done and move on. That's what I'm all about. How many treatments, we'll talk about that during training, because it's you educating your client and getting your client's expectations in the right position. I mean, I always say get the client to financially and emotionally budget for 2 to 3 sessions, because after the first session, the pigment might actually get darker as we brought it up closer to the surface. So if you haven't told your client that, so the second session might then lift that out, and then we'll decide how things are progressing after the 3rd session. If a client wants full removal and they got really saturated old brows, you have to feel sorry for that person, because laser, botched ink, saline, glycolic, anybody, if you want that skin to be in any kind of good condition afterwards, you've got to work gently and conservatively. Yes, there are some types of removal out there that will get pretty much anything out in one go, but what the heck kind of conditions the skin in afterwards? Which is not right. So when can clients put makeup on? Well, we don't really want them putting makeup on a freshly treated area, do we? And laser, we've already spoken about that. So that's my shop. That's where I'm sat at the moment. Beautiful ink. This is a venue we use in London as well. But that whole, let's just see what the other questions out. Will you see the pigment coming out? Not likely, unless it's incredibly superficial in that skin. I have seen pigment coming out, black pigment coming out on a really superficially implanted tattoo, but don't expect it. What you can often find though after the 2nd or 3rd session is you can actually then start to see pigment in the scab, which is kind of really quite cool. So why do eyebrow pigments change over the years? That's quite a big subject, because the pigments that we're using nowadays, some of the new types of pigment out there, are so very different from what we've used typically for permanent makeup. And they're held in the skin differently. They're in different carrier fluids. It's just really interesting, the whole pigment discussion. I love the pigment discussion. We've spoken about the pigment can be darker afterwards. One of the things that clients aren't always aware of when they're having a removal treatment is they're only looking at the colours that's on the surface. They don't know how to read the pigment under the really bright lights that we can look at sometimes. You know, when you can see that there's 2 or 3 shapes going on in that tattoo, and you've got brown pigment, you've got russet pigment and stuff like that. And of course, like I said before, black's the easiest colour to remove, but if you don't remind that client that you can also see some red brows under there, the client's going to think that you've potentially scarred them, aren't they? When what we're actually looking at is their old brows now being revealed. So it's educating the client while you've got them on the couch underneath your really bright light, having a really good peer at their brows and taking a really good client tattoo history of how many times they've had their brows done, how many over the years, when were they first done, that grey colour I can see under there, was that your first brow, how long ago was that, how many times now are we covering up and trying to hide old black tattoos? You see it so much, don't you? So Cavalon cream, no, it's Cavilon. Amazon often have it. It's for a pack of 20 sachets. Sorry, for a pack of 20 sachets, you'll probably find it's only about $20 or less normally. So to just quickly say, there's a couple of products out there that are specifically tattoo removal aftercare products. They're not for Botched Ink Aftercare. They're for yeah, it's not those aren't the right products for Botched Ink Aftercare. We don't need them. Like I said, we don't have that redness afterwards. So many clients don't even know how many times, oh yes, I know. So many clients don't even know how many times they've been tattooed. Yeah, how many times have you been tattooed? Oh, just once before. And did you have a top up? Oh yes. They're funny. That's me now at the end of this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shock everybody.